What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with another game of Age of Mythology Retold. We're going to be going in with Thor here. This has been something I've been cooking up for quite some time. I've been thinking about it ever since I saw that the Thor armory can be basically every dwarf you get, not dwarf, every armory upgrade you get, you actually get a dwarf out as well. So what does this mean? It means the faster I get that dwarf out, the more I'm going to benefit from it. So if I get myself out a dwarf at 1 minute in the game, that means I've increased my income per minute by roughly 60 a minute, which means that if the technology costs 120 or however much it costs, it's going to take 2 minutes for it to pay off. So the faster I get it, the better situation I'm going to be in. So just to put this into perspective, if I have paid off the upgrade, I'm just in front by a villager. I'm in front by 60 resources. I'm in front by 120 resources a minute. I'm in front by 180 resources a minute if I can get all 3 of my upgrades out. So doing some math, I kind of worked out that, you know what? All I need to do is get myself a whole bunch of wood to afford copper shields and a whole bunch of gold to afford copper shields and copper mail. Get myself a temple out, and then everything after that just kind of works. So all I got to do is basically put dwarves onto wood from the armory, and that's going to sort out any extra amount of resources that I need to get myself a temple, ox carts, and everything else. And I'm going to be able to get a really clean advance time just by putting villagers onto food here. So the build order is actually ridiculously simple. You go 3 dwarves, the starting dwarves chop down an entire tree, so 150 wood there. Then they go over onto the dwarven gold mine, so now you've got 3 dwarves on there. And the rest of your villagers are going to food. You don't have to think about it. You do have to do a slight amount of force dropping here, otherwise you're not going to have the food to produce a villager. But that's probably the most tricky thing you have to do. And then all the dwarves that come out of your armory just go over onto wood, and that gives you the wood you need to get everything else out. It's incredibly simple. So yeah, we're just going to be basically trying to get ourselves copper mail, copper shields in the archaic age before we advance, and then we could decide based on what our opponent's doing if we can afford to get ourselves copper weapons. I don't think it's possible to squeeze out copper weapons and get a fastish advance time. I think if I have to get copper weapons out as well, I'm going to need a lot more resources here. As you can see, I'm already kind of trying to spend that gold there as well. I mean, maybe I could get myself copper weapons and advance at 430 or maybe 445. Not 100% sure, but this one definitely felt like I'm going to be able to defend myself against anything. I'm going to start with at least 2 dwarves advantage over my opponent. And I'm going to have copper mail and copper shields. So to again put this into even bigger perspective, Odin gets a bonus which gives him 10% extra HP on his Great Hall units. Having copper shields and copper mail out is 10% bonus, but on everything. Effective HP bonus, but on everything. That's kind of how you can think about having those upgrades. So it's actually, it might not seem like a big deal, and it's probably not a big deal normally. In fact, generally having an extra unit out, or 2 or 3, is going to be a bigger advantage for you in the fights. But considering that I'm actually not at a loss here, I'm actually, in fact, my economy is also in front. It just makes it so obvious that this is going to have to be the way to go for Thor, and it's going to be incredibly tough to stop the Thor player from having an advantage. So one thing to be kind of a little bit concerned about, and this is kind of why I got this Herser out before getting copper weapons here, is that your opponent can rush you, and having that Herser out to help defend that rush, maybe a Minotaur comes through, maybe a Centaur comes through, maybe a Sphinx or an Anubite, just having that hero out on your hunt is going to be a big deal. But if you do see your opponent advancing really fast, just go sit on your chickens. No worries. Sit on your chickens. It's totally fine. You can also eat pigs as well if you really want to. You've also got access to this beautiful healing spring to kind of defend against any sort of pressures coming in and help you out. And here's the actual beautiful thing as well with this. Because you start with so many extra dwarves, in fact, I've got 5 dwarves on gold at the moment. Because you've got that many, you actually don't need to be spamming dwarves out. You can just spam gatherers out, which is actually, in terms of getting yourself more food and more economy, it's actually a little bit better to be building gatherers than it is building dwarves if you don't need that gold. Obviously, gold gathers really fast with dwarves, but you've also got to have to deal with the fact that they cost a little bit more resources and they come out a little bit later. So there is that to keep in the back of your mind. But you get yourselves out the longhouse, you get yourself out the Great Hall, and you can make yourself Purser, Raiding Cavalry, Throw and Axe, which basically covers your... It covers you for basically everything your opponent can make. So you're ready to defend without even needing to scout them. And everything is great. Now you can also do this and go through Freya, totally a good option. Maybe here, instead of having so many villagers on food like I had, maybe I could have put an extra villager over onto wood. Feels like I'm a little bit struggling on that wood side. You can see I definitely want to be getting these houses up, but nonetheless, it does look like the economy basically works itself out here. I'm just making sure that every time I hear a unit getting trained, I'm going to make another round of units, and that's going to also allow my villagers to continue to come out. I'm not really floating resources at the moment, and at 6 minutes into the game, hitting around about 60 population is always going to be that kind of gold standard for Age of Mythology macro in the early game. So definitely keep that in the back of your mind when making these sorts of builds yourself. I mean, following this from the natural progression on from here, you're just playing Norse. So get your units out, get more buildings out as you go along, and then go to the next stage and enjoy a really, really strong heroic age timing, or just get yourself a town center down as well if you find yourself having an advantage. There's lots of different ways to get yourself an advantage in Age of Mythology, especially with Norse. And not only this, when you're doing this kind of a build, because you've got so much extra income than your opponent, that also compounds, because you're also going to be able to start thinking about getting extra upgrades. You can see I can afford pickaxe here at 7 minutes into this game for no great reason. I could just afford it. It's just there. I probably shouldn't be able to afford it, but I can, so that means I'm also getting myself out even more of an advantage over my opponent and allowed to push in. I'm going to show you another trick here. So when you're being aggressive with Thor and with Loki, you can actually use your healing spring on the front here. Now obviously if you get pushed off of this, you're going to lose, but your opponent actually can't take this healing spring unless they kill your units off. So you can sit here with a crazy advantage on this gold mine, and my opponent's going to resign. It wasn't the strongest of opponents, unfortunately, but this is just a build order showing this one off. Let me know how you guys go with it in your games. We'll check out the post game here a little bit as well and just kind of show off this. It's like a 417 classical age, which seems really, really good. Military units is completely fine. We'll see if we can see exactly how the civilian unit graph looks. So you just keep going up and up and up and up. I'm already equal with my opponent, which I shouldn't be, and then I'm in front of them by a big way, and I advance way in front of them as well. And it's just exactly how you kind of expecting things to go here. Resource difference probably not going to be the best measurement here because my opponent here probably not getting their villages working so well. But that's the game. If you guys enjoyed this one, please consider the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.